Hey, Pretty Girl Club. I want to talk about the level of projection that a lot of women have when it comes to exoticals with type 3 hair. Because I've noticed that this girl, Kata from Love Island, and this other girl, Soul from Love Island, both of them are going viral right now just by getting their hair done. And I've said this several times before. When you're a pretty exotical, you are treated like a celebrity. People are obsessed with your hair, they're obsessed with what you're doing with it. They're obsessed with how long or short your hair is. So I noticed that when Kata got her extensions done, there were a bunch of unambiguous people online saying, "Oh, I'm not used to seeing Kata with more than 2 scoops of hair." And then they were accusing Kata's hair of being damaged. And they even pulled up pictures of Kata from high school and they pulled up her natural hair to say that it was damaged. First of all, why is it always women who do not have type 3 hair? It's always bald-headed women who assume that everybody else is bald-headed. Has anybody else noticed that? Like, have you ever had a friend or a family member who's bald-headed? They're constantly clocking your hair. They're constantly watching whether or not your hair is growing. And when it comes to Kata, she has type 3 hair. And I've noticed that a lot of people who don't have type 3 hair, they don't understand that nobody has exactly the same size curls on every part of their head. Like if you're type 3, as a type 3 person myself, I can tell you every single curl on my head is not the exact same size. That's totally normal to have a mix of 3A and 3B. You might have a spot that's like 3C, but I've noticed whenever the girl has type 3 hair, they have a tendency to say, "Oh, your hair must be damaged. Your hair is damaged because you're straightening it." No, your hair would get damaged when you straighten it. So it's a form of projection. And it's also like, why is it that when it comes to 4C hair, people understand that, you could have 4C, you could have a little bit of 4B in there, but suddenly, if you're type 3, if you have a little bit of 3B in there, if you have some 3A, oh no, your hair must be damaged. Oh no, you must have put chemicals on it. Oh, you must have burned it up with the flat iron. And a lot of people were saying that Kata was straightening her hair twice a day on Love Island. That's a lie. That she was not straightening her. Go back and watch Love Island. She did not straighten her hair twice a day. She might have straightened her hair more than one time per week, but it's like they have this talking point of stay out of black women's hair, but then they don't follow the rule when it comes to biracial women. Stay out of biracial women's hair. Stay out of type 3 women's hair. And then I saw some people, they were commenting saying that Kata, she needs to do the big chop. They were like, oh, she needs to do the big chop before she gets some extensions because she was flat ironing her hair. And it's like in the black community, there's this talking point of if you straighten your hair, it's automatically damaged. So if you straightened your hair once, or maybe you straightened it over the summer or something, oh, your hair is automatically damaged. You have to cut it off. That is a culturally black talking point. Like, oh, cutting your hair is the solution to every problem. Oh, just big chop. Your hair got a little bit damaged, big chop. You have a little bit of heat damage, big chop. You dyed your hair, big chop. You put chemicals on it, big chop. And it's like people love seeing exoticals, especially if you have long, pretty hair, or, if your hair texture or your hair length is pedestalized, people in the black community are going to try to encourage you to chop your hair, or they will purposely give you bad advice. And then they'll be like, oh, well, you would look really good bald headed anyway. You would look really good if you shaved your head bald. You would look really good with a pixie cut anyway. But then with Soul, she had short hair. They made fun of Soul for having a pixie cut. So it's like, which one is it? Do these women look pretty with short hair? Do they look pretty with 2 scoops of hair, or do they look bad? Look at Rihanna. They made fun of Rihanna for having short hair. So they're always going to be moving the goalpost if you have a phenotype that's pedestalized. So if your hair is long, they're going to say, oh, no, you don't need long hair. You can just go ahead and chop it off. Oh, you have different types of type 3 in your head. Oh, it's probably damaged anyway, so just chop it off. And then if you do chop off your hair, or if you keep it short, then people in the black community will try to make fun of you and say, oh, yeah, that's why your hair is constantly damaged. They say that evil people's hair never grows. You're evil, so your hair never gets long. So it's like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't when it comes to being an exotical. But then if you were to make fun of a dark skinned black woman's hair, if you were to say that she needs to do a big chop, you'd be called a texturist. So it's like, okay, what hair texture do I have to have in order to talk shit about other people's hair because it seems like as long as you have 4C hair, you are free to talk shit about whoever you want. And this is why I say, exoticals, you should burn the cape. Burn the cape. I'm not caping for anyone who doesn't cape for me. If you say something negative about me, I will find something negative to say about you. You talk crap about my hair, I'll talk crap about your hair. And has anybody noticed as well that in the black community, there is a very heavy pedestalization on hair length? So I didn't even realize that until I came onto YouTube. There's an obsession with growing long hair. And I think that having short hair, like involuntarily having short hair, I think that's one of the main black female traumas. Because think about it, that actually is a form of feminine trauma. Every little girl wants to have princess hair at least once. Every little girl wants to have long hair at least once in their life, or they want to be able to grow their hair down their back or whatever. So imagine coming from a culture where you've never been able to achieve that. You've never been able to have the long hair you've always wanted. You've never been able to have your hair be as soft as you've always wanted, or it's never been able to be as shiny as you always want. Whatever your internalized beauty standard is for hair, imagine never being able to meet that. That's actually a very common phenomenon in the black community. So I noticed that what they'll do is the women who do meet their hair standard in terms of beauty, they will nitpick those women or they'll live vicariously through those women. They'll say things like, oh, well, if I had Kata's hair, I would just chop it off and grow it back. Oh, well, I would stop straightening it. I would just wear it down and curly all the time. You know what I'm talking about. If you have type 3, like in my case, do you know how many black women have randomly tried to pressure me into wearing my hair down and curly all the time? They're like, oh, if I had your hair texture, I would just wear it curly and down my back 24/7. If I had your hair texture, I would never wear a weave. I would never wear wigs. I'd never wear ponytails. And it's like, why are you even fantasizing about having my hair texture? So that's proof that you're a standard of beauty. That's proof that in terms of your hair texture or in terms of your hair shine, you are a standard of beauty. I remember one time actually, I was at work and this girl was comparing her hair's level of moisture to my hair's moisture level. Like, I have never in my life been sitting at a cubicle and looking over at the girl's bun to see how much moisture her hair retains versus mine. So, all of this is really just a form of projection. And I feel like for a lot of women, they have that trauma of never being able to exude the type of femininity that they've always wanted to. And so then they'll randomly pressure you as a type 3 woman. They'll try to pressure you to like get highlights or to not get highlights or to get a texturizer or to not do a texturizer. You know, you shouldn't put chemicals. You shouldn't put henna. If I had your hair texture, I would never touch it. I would never manipulate it in any way. You know, so they're projecting all of what they would do onto you because they spent a lot of time thinking about you. It's like, okay, if you're obsessed with me, just say it. If you're obsessed with my hair texture, just say it. Because I've never thought that deeply into Kata's hair. Like, I've never thought to myself, oh my God, what size curls did she have in high school? That's literally what they're doing. They're looking at pictures of Kata and they are zooming in on her curls to see what size curls she had when she was 15 years old. So they're saying, oh, well, you know, this curl is a little bit bigger than this other curl on the other side of her head. And does she have damage? Or like, how did she used to wear it? Or how long can her hair grow? Have you ever had people tracking your hair growth? I mean, they're tracking your hair growth journey more than they're tracking their own. They'll ask you for pictures. I've had women ask me for pictures. Like this, it'll be like women at the hair salon. Let's say I go to a black hair salon, which I no longer do, but if I did, they would ask for pictures like, oh, can I see pictures of your hair? Like when you would wear it curly and down, like, do you have any pictures in your phone? And it's like the amount of curiosity and pedestalization is insane. Remember, curiosity is a form of pedestalization because that's how they treat celebrities, right? They're asking questions about you. They want to know how you got your hair to look the way it looks. They accuse you of having damaged type 3 hair when in reality, you just have 3A, 3B, and 3C. That's totally normal. If you have type 3 hair, comment down below. Is it not normal to have different size curls? And especially if you're mixed race, that's completely normal because, you know, maybe on your mom's side they have loose curls, maybe on your dad's side they have tight curls, so you got a mix of both. And it's almost like people in the Black community, they're in awe because they're like, wow, how did she get those loose curls? She must have been doing something. Kata must have damaged her hair in order to get those curls. She must have put chemicals on her hair. She must have been straightening her hair twice a day. Her hair must be relaxed if it's not reverting when it comes to straightening it. Her hair must be relaxed. It must be permed. She must have somehow done something to loosen her curls. Remember, they said the same thing about Beyonce? They were like, oh, Beyonce's curls only look like that because she dyed it blonde. So, it must be the chemicals in her hair. Beyonce actually has 4C hair. Have you ever noticed that women with inferiority complexes, they try to convince themselves that every single person is exactly like them? So they'll convince themselves that you're not biracial, you're not mixed, you have 4C hair, your hair must be damaged. That's the only way it's type 3. They're completely projecting. It's like, no, you could only get your hair to be loose if you permed it. And actually, you really can't because if you look at the TikTok videos of women with 4C hair, like the true 4C, they will actually talk about how even when they try to relax their hair, it won't relax. Like it won't loosen, it'll just like rip off. And have you ever noticed that when it comes to blending your hair, like let's say you have type 3 hair, the Black community puts higher standards on you when it comes to blending your extensions if you have quote unquote good hair. They will be trying so hard to clock your sew in, or they're trying to like, look at your tape ins or whatever and see how well it blends. They feel like it has to blend perfectly. And it's like, okay, newsflash, there's no such thing as perfect extensions, perfect wigs, somebody having perfect hair 24/7. But notice how they raise the bar when you have Kata's hair texture. If you're anywhere, if you are not a 4C, if you're anywhere in the curly hair range, they raise the bar. It's like, I shouldn't see not one frizz. Your baby hairs need to be laid 24/7. Your extensions need to blend effortlessly, even if you're in Fiji. Meanwhile, when it came to Anaya, who had this crazy looking wig, they were like, oh, it's really humid there in Fiji, and that's why her hair looks a little frizzy. That's why it looks a little stiff. So I've noticed they give a lot more grace to the women that they feel are already at the bottom. Women that they feel are more discriminated against, they'll give them quote unquote grace. They'll be like, oh, well, stop talking about Black women's hair, or 4C hair doesn't do the same thing as other hair types. And it's like, okay, neither does 3C. 3C doesn't do the same thing as other hair types. If and also, have you ever noticed that when it comes to 3C hair, they never have a standard of what 3C is. They never show a picture of what a person looks like with a head full of 3C hair. They always have to include 4A or they have to include 3B. And I'm like, okay, well, who has 3C hair? You're saying Kata doesn't have 3C. You're saying that Beyonce doesn't have 3C. You said Cardi B doesn't have 3C. You said Rihanna doesn't have 3C. You said Nicki Minaj doesn't have type 3C. Okay, so then who does? Show me a picture of a woman who has a head full of 3C hair with no other textures included in it. And then if you are a type 3, like if you start talking about the hair texture scale, then they'll call you a texturist and they'll say, "Oh, you shouldn't be talking about the scale. That scale is created to create a hierarchy and you're just trying to exclude people." And it's like, what are you being excluded from? What club are you trying to be a part of that you're not able to be a part of? Because clearly you're viewing type 3 as like this special exclusive club and you're mad that you're not in the club. And so now you're projecting onto women like Beyonce or Kata or Soul. And then you're saying, oh, well, their hair must be permed anyway. Their hair is actually 4C. Like I saw people saying that Soul's hair is relaxed and that her actual hair is 4C. Meanwhile, if you look at videos of women with the real 4C hair, their hair could never get as straight as Soul's. It doesn't get as straight. And if it does get that straight, it doesn't have the same texture. Like it's literally thicker. It's not fine textured like how Soul's hair is. So there's all this complaining about being erased. They'll say, oh, type 4C has no representation. And it's like you're erasing yourselves because you want Kata and Soul and Beyonce and Cardi B. You want Afro Latinas and biracial Haitian women to like be the representation of 4C hair. And then you get mad. Like all those people that were worshiping Cardi B's Grow Good or whatever it was called. I haven't heard a peep about Grow Good ever since it came out. So, it seems like the 4C ladies have realized that There is no magic product that's suddenly going to make their hair as long as Cardi B's. And that's another thing too. Women won't admit when they suck at hair care. And it's like, okay, you admitted that you are from a culture where they are the worst at hair care. I'm not saying this. This is what women have said about themselves. You're admitting that in your culture, they are bad at hair care, they're bad at hair growth and length retention, etc. But then you want to suddenly be the length retention police for women with type 3 hair? Suddenly, you want to be the chemical police. You want to zoom in to Kata's hair from high school. You're zooming in to Kata's hair when she's getting ready at Love Island. You're literally pausing the screenshot. You're pausing Love Island on your TV and taking a picture of the TV so you could zoom in, so you could see what Kata's hair looks like while she's straightening it. Have you ever had somebody in real life beg to watch you do your hair? Because I know I have. I've had people where they want to watch me straighten my hair, they want to watch me do a routine. Like I've had people ask to watch me wash my hair before, because I used to wash my hair in the sink sometimes. Like when I was with my friends or whatever, I would just wet my hair in the sink. I don't recommend doing that, by the way. But it's always somebody who pedestalizes your hair. Those are the main ones who want to see all the pictures. That's why they're zooming in to Kata. That's why they're zooming in to Soul's hair and obsessing. I don't see people doing that to Lupita Nyong'o. I don't see people doing that to Anoki Ai or Naomi Campbell or Gabrielle Union. All these women that they swear are so pretty. They swear that Brandy is so gorgeous and that she's the pinnacle of beauty. You swear that Brandy is so gorgeous. I don't see you looking at Brandy's hair routine. I don't see you zooming into her hair. I don't see you looking at Monique. Monique has had her edges intact for decades. Monique always has a slick back bun. She's always had her edges there. So I don't see people obsessing over her. I see more people looking at Queen Latifah's hair versus Monique. So it's like, that's how you know you're on a pedestal. If women in the black community are zooming into your hair, if they're obsessing over it, if they're screenshotting it, if they're creating all these conspiracy theories around your hair has its own lore. Like, imagine being on such a high pedestal that they're literally creating fables and fairy tales about your hair. Like, that's how you know you're a bad bitch. That's how you know you're the shit. I mean, like Kata, she literally has people creating up, they're creating entire storylines about what her hair was like in high school. Zooming into her curls, they were zooming into Soul's hair. They were pulling up pictures of Soul with different types of curls. And by the way, that's another thing that people don't acknowledge about type 3 hair. It's like, yeah, just like how you said type 4 hair is versatile. I see a lot of women saying, yeah, type 4 is versatile. It could do any style. You could do a blowout, straighten it. Okay, so why is it that suddenly when it comes to type 3, you don't understand that type 3 can be versatile as well? So, maybe she has type 3. Maybe she did Bantu knots. Maybe she did a twist out or a braid out or whatever. So that's why her curls look different. It's not that her curls are damaged. No, she just did a braid out, sis. She just did a twist out. That's why her curls look like it's a different size or whatever. It's because she styled it differently. And I feel like part of the hair length and texture obsession, it comes from trauma in the black community. And that's because a lot of black women grew up being made fun of for being bald headed, or even their mothers were embarrassed of their hair, or, have you ever seen those girls talk about how when they would come home from school, maybe their hair got messed up and they had 4C, their moms would like give them whoopings, or their moms would they'd get in trouble because their hair is considered embarrassing. So I think that there's an extra pedestal if you have long hair that's healthy, or if you have a certain texture that a lot of people associate with like being exotic or whatever. And I feel like a lot of women grow their hair out in the black community because when you have long hair and you're black, especially if you're monoracial, you have broken a stereotype. You've broken that bald-headed black woman stereotype. So a lot of women in the black community are very proud to have long hair. Like if they do grow their hair, they're very proud to show it off. And, so it's this mindset of, hey, if I had your hair length, I would show it off. So why don't you? Why don't you show off your hair more? Why don't you flex your hair more? And then you've got the group of women who want to be accepted. They feel like it's more quote unquote acceptable to have the curly hair or the long silky hair. So, you've got those women stressing out because they want to be accepted by Brad. They want to be accepted by Bethany and Jennifer and the white community or the Asian community. Look at the cultures that a lot of the black community looks up to. A lot of black women, they're obsessed with K-pop. Well, how do a lot of the K-pop people look? Well, they have long silky hair. They have silky hair. So their crush has silky long hair. The K-pop men that they're obsessed with, they have silky black hair. Or the K-pop women that they're obsessed with, they have long silky straight hair, or they're obsessed with Indian men or whatever. We all know that the Indian community is one of the most pedestalized communities when it comes to hair. So God forbid you're a mixed woman with some Indian in you. Oh my God, that's a totally different thing. God forbid you're Blasian or Blindian. First of all, if you're Blasian, Chris Brown is probably looking for you right now. He's probably in your DMs right now. So I think that there are so many different layers of jealousy there. I think there are so many different pedestals that you have as an exotical that you may not even realize. And that's why you got people who literally make up stories about your hair, or they zoom in, like how they did with Kata, or they zoom into your hair, like with Soul. Also, I know that there's more of a length obsession in the black community because, especially with type 4 hair, I noticed that they only celebrate type 4 hair when it's long, not when it's short. But if it's type 3, you're still going to get a pedestal even if your hair is short, like Soul's. You're still going to get a pedestal with short hair, like Halle Berry, for example, who also has type 3 hair and it happens to be short. So they also have a double standard where it's like, okay, if it's type 3, it could be any length and it's going to be pedestalized. If it's type 4, they want the person to have long hair and it'll be pedestalized. A good example is Blue Ivy. Remember how they made fun of Blue Ivy? She doesn't even have 4C. She has some other type of type 4, though, I think. I think she might have some 4A or something. But they made fun of her when her hair was short. But then suddenly, once she hit 12 or 13 years old and has super long type 4 hair, then suddenly, oh, she's so beautiful. Oh, she's so gorgeous. She looks just like her mom. But then when she had the type 4 hair, she looked like her dad, Jay-Z. And by the way, Jay-Z is a standard of ugliness, according to people in the black community. I didn't say it. This is what people in the black community are saying. So I feel like they also seem to masculinize short type 4 hair, but then they don't masculinize short type 3 hair. In fact, they think it's pretty to have the finger waves. What are the finger waves? Well, it's supposed to mimic wavy hair. And whenever your hair is pedestalized, there's always going to be a woman with an inferiority complex who is competing with you. She's in a hair competition with you. She's in a hair growth contest with you. She is in a hair moisture contest with you. She is in a hair curl contest. She'll be trying to figure out how you got your curls to be that size because they can't believe that you have loose curls. And it's like, okay, only women who have tight curls make that talking point. It's like, yeah, you can't believe it because you don't have loose curls. Your mom doesn't have loose curls. Your sisters don't have loose curls. You don't come from a lineage of people with looser curls. So that's why you're so shocked. That's why you're confused when you see somebody like Kata or Soul. That's why you're confused because you don't have that same hair texture and you're not related to anybody with that hair texture. You don't have friends that have that hair texture because if you did, you would not be so confused and creating conspiracy theories and fairy tales about how Kata's hair became curly. Oh, well, she must have had it damaged on the right side. There are people who will literally be zooming in. They're zooming into one side of your head versus the other side of your head. They'll be like, oh, well, it's because she was doing a side part and then she straightened her bang. And so that's why this part is slightly looser than the other part. And it's like, you have all this knowledge about hair texture and porosity and all the hair types, yet you're not able to grow your own hair past your ears? Have you ever met a woman who's an expert on every phenotype but her own? It reminds me of the skin tone police. It's always somebody who's not even light skinned. They have no light skinned family members. And then they're policing how light or dark somebody is. I mean, they could tell you the difference between a half a shade. They will memorize other women's foundation shades. And it's like some women, they're experts on every woman who does not look like them. So, they can tell Kata and Soul what hair type looks good on them. Suddenly, they're experts about what type of extensions Soul should have, or, what shade of blonde goes the best with Soul's skin complexion. But then when it comes to themselves, they don't know. They don't even know how to match their own lipstick. According to some of their own talking points, they can't wear certain lipsticks or they're forced to wear a lip combo because the red doesn't go with their skin or whatever, or, they can't pull off certain shades of blonde. So it's like, how do you know what looks good on somebody else. You know what looks good and bad on a woman who has a different phenotype, she's a different race, but then when it comes to yourself, you don't know how to exude that same level of beauty. But what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.